Hello everyone, my name is Mirna and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us, Angel Rebo, CEO, consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is co-hosting with our very dear Sunny Chayes. Sunny is not only the host of this show, but she is also the host of ABC Solutionary Sundays. She is a feature writer and chief strategist for Whole Lifetimes, the longest running conscious life magazine in America. Sunny is a producer, moderator, and a mythbuster. But before starting with them and our very dear guest, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness in the planet, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that can benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. Also, when we are live streaming, we have an active chat you're going to see on my side or under the video in case that you're following us from a smartphone, and through there you can interact with us. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. For that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to be finding a link. It says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link takes you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. Remember that you can collaborate with Mindalia in English through Mindalia TV English, but you can also do it in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión and Portuguese through Mindalia Televisão. Visit our different channels and platforms and visit our Facebook pages, Instagram accounts. With that, you are not only keeping yourself updated with the amazing information we share there on a daily basis, but you also help us reach as much people in the planet as possible. I'm not going to be delaying this any further. I have the great pleasure of saying welcome to Mindalia live streaming, Sunny, Angel, and Matt.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, for your introduction. And welcome back, Sunny. Hi, how are you?
I am doing fine. I am in my forest here, as you can see, and I see that you are in a beautiful, basically a manicured forest yourself. How beautiful.
Thank you. Likewise, you know, I have to say that obviously we're trying to make a point here, and all this stream of incredible energy just came from our incredible guest today with that, you know, we're going to be introducing later. But yeah, we're absolutely compelled to move ourselves to our origin and to what surrounds us and what you know, it's a one with us. So yeah, go ahead.
It's so
Sunny.
true. Well, it's so true, and I think that this time right now, it's June. We're moving from spring in a week or two into summer, and just the beauty and positivity of everything nature. A couple weeks ago, we had the San Elder woman, actually, Liz Kruper, and she was really talking to us about we are not with nature, we are nature. And I think that, again, you and I, Angel, love so much to be speaking, really so careful with our words and really using our words impeccably. And when people say things like, oh, we should get back to nature or we should be in nature, to remind ourselves that we are nature, that is really the truth. And so we're actually with our nature, we're in our nature, we're surrounded by nature, and it reminds us that we are. And so today on the show, we're going to be talking about earthing and all of the different aspects that we can really connect with trees specifically, and just everything nature. And so I feel like reading really briefly from this article that I wrote last issue with Whole Life Times, Magical Mystical Trees, Roots of Wisdom. And there's one bit that I wrote about the sacred yew tree, the holy yew tree from Ireland. And this tree is astounding. It is, some of the trees are 2,000 to 9,000 years old. As they age, they become hollow, similar to the baobab tree in Africa. And so determining their age is even kind of difficult because they don't have the rings that we're used to. They're completely hollow inside. And in Ireland, the holy yew, always remaining vibrant and evergreen, not succumbing to the harshest winters, became the symbol of death and resurrection to the Druids. And they used the heartwood and sapwood from the yew trees for their wands and long bows and staffs, knowing that the tree holds magical powers. Wherever they grew was considered sacred ground, and many abbeys and churches were built around them, around the mighty trees. And the trees may have already been centuries old. And they have been seen as the ancient guardians of the magic. So I think it's so important to just kind of chat about that. And I think anything you'd like to say before I introduce our guest?
No, just that it's so true that when we live in, I mean, as you know, most of the world population lives in towns, lives in cities. Everybody is compelled to live in cities. But the reality is that doesn't mean that we can lose that connection with what we really are, which is nature. Mm-hmm. And this is just why it is so necessary to have people like our guest today to remind us of who we are and what we can do on our humble homes to stay connected, and also to many other things, right?
Yes, and even it's so important. We're going to be talking today a lot about earthing, and one of the things that's so great about doing earthing is that it's so beautiful to do with our children and with elders. We're learning that it's so healing and everything to actually be in the earth with the microbes and all of the energies that are in the soil right beneath our feet. And so that's something that we're going to be talking about. But yes, really having that connection. And we can be doing earthing 15 minutes a day just with our bare feet and walking in the soil, or just putting our feet in sand or soil. And there have been so many studies that actually show that it affects so many things: diabetes, heart, blood pressure, heart rate, all of these kinds of things. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Matthew Van Diepen. We'll probably call him Matt when he comes on. And I'm not seeing him, but I'm sure he'll appear in a minute. He's really incredible. I could read his bio, but he goes all around, and he has his own company called Homegrown Gardens LA. But he also goes to schools, he teaches at schools, and he goes to all of these urban areas all around the Southern California area. And he plants gardens in the schools or in areas, just a little patch that may be by the basketball court or something like that. And he really teaches the kids about, seed to tree or seed to tomato, what that process is and why it's so important. So without further ado, I think we will bring Matt on if he's available. Matt, are you there for us?
Hey, Sonny, I'm here.
Good morning. Good morning. Yay.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you're a little bit foggy, but you were clearer before, but that's okay. Let's start chatting and we'll figure it all out. So join us here. There we go. That's clearer. So welcome to Mindalia TV.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure so far this morning.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to Mindalia TV. Awesome. So you're surrounded by nature. We can tell that. What sort of plants do you have on your background?
To my left over here, we have a Suriname cherry tree, which is a little bit different than a traditional cherry. It's a tropical one, and it's got all these ruffled edges around it, and they're super sweet and tart and delicious. We have some calendulas in the background, which are a beneficial flower for the garden. And off to my right over here, we have some tobacco plants, which actually just multiply on their own. I grew them once or twice, and now they just kind of spread all over the garden, and they have these beautiful white trumpet-shaped flowers. So I don't mind them kind of spreading around the garden.
I'd love to read a little bit, if you don't mind, Matt, from
your
your
article. They're also beneficial for bad bug from coming in and eating the garden. Sorry?
So cool. Well, that's so beautiful there. I was going to read, actually, I was reading a little bit from my article, and I want to read a little bit from your article from the same issue, Absorbing Gaia's Electrons. And you talk about easy breezy earthing. And one of the things that you say in the beginning is that you say for thousands of years we have evolved in close proximity to our food sources and to nature. Only in the past 100 years or so have we made this leap from surrounding ourselves with the environment of the natural world with trees and soil to a man-made one that's been sterilized and paved over. This isolation from and dominion over nature is leading to some very serious consequences upon our health as well as that of this planet. So very well said, Matt. And do you want to add to that a little bit?
Oh, thanks, Sunny. Yeah, well, Myrna and I were speaking earlier about the therapeutic benefits, I guess, of connecting to the earth. And I didn't talk about it in that article, but the Japanese are doing a lot of research into the benefits of just sitting under trees. And I think we've gotten so far from nature in the cities. We really insulate and isolate ourselves from nature. And so I think any kind of connection we can get to the outdoors, whether it's walking barefoot or digging in the garden or just having a little flower pot or something outside your home, I think can provide people with a great deal of or a lot of peace of mind.
Can you tell us a little bit about your work that you do with the kids?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so we teach a lot of gardening classes at preschool through college level courses, and the main focus is on educating people on how to grow food organically and sustainably and in a regenerative manner. So by regenerative, I mean actually improving the soil conditions and sequestering carbon in the process. And when we build healthy soils, we're able to grow really healthy food, very, very nutrient-rich food, which really improves people's overall health. So that's really the goal of these classes and schools is connecting the students to the land, and then getting them to eat the foods that they're growing.
Matt, how did you end up doing what you do today? What motivated you to do this?
Well, I studied the food system in college. So I took a class called World Food Systems when I was a history major at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And Cal Poly is a big agricultural school. So I think I got a little bit of that from the university there. And then my dad and my grandfather had a nursery. So I think it's kind of in my blood to some degree. And I didn't think I'd want to do that when I was growing up, because I was always doing all the manual labor and didn't find that part to be so enjoyable. But once I learned about the lack of sustainability in the food system and how a lot of our pollution on the planet comes from industrial foods, I realized that there was much more sustainable and beneficial ways to be able to grow food on the planet, and I thought I should get involved with that.
When you work with the kids, one of the things that I appreciate so much about that is that for even kids who may be autistic or any kind of challenge that kids may have, and this also works for elders, being in the soil with the microbes and really understanding, it's a very holy experience, really. And so I'd love for you to talk to that. I don't know if you get to really impart that to the kids, if it's something subliminal, or if you really go deep with that with the kids.
Yeah, I guess I definitely touch upon the mental and the physical benefits of gardening with the kids. I don't really delve into it, and we do meditation each morning before our garden classes, or each day before our garden classes. So I guess in that sense, I'm encouraging people to come into their bodies and to get in touch with their intuition maybe a little bit, but we don't go too much into the spirituality aspect of it, although I guess meditation is in alignment with that. But yeah, I definitely like to emphasize the multitude of health benefits when digging in the soil and interacting with the earth as much as possible. So yeah, and it's really profound to see these students with different types of learning disabilities or different types of disorders that really like come alive, and they're really able to express themselves and feel comfortable and thrive in an outdoor learning environment like the garden.
And how would you define why is that? You know, when we are in touch with nature, that those changes happen. Why do you think that that's the case?
Well, like Sunny read about in that article, I think that we evolved with nature. So our bodies are accustomed to being in outdoor environments, to interacting with all these microbes. And when we're in a city, when we're in a building, we're isolated from those microbes and from, I mean, even just the fresh air. You know, we've known that for many, I don't know, at least 100 years. I imagine probably even longer, that trees provide us with oxygen. And when we're isolated from that, we're not getting as much oxygen in our bodies. And you know, now there's things like oxygen bars where people go and pay money to get straight oxygen, and that gives them a feeling of elation and help them to feel good. And we can just get that from being out underneath the tree. So.
This is so true and so powerful. How do you feel with your trees around you, Sunny?
I feel so great with my trees around me. I feel so happy about this. I mean, it's something that I actually said in this article. Gina asked this very important question of us. In this article, she asked us, she said, you know, sort of during the season of rebirth and renewal, do you have any special plans to celebrate the springtime? And she asked a few different people who contributed. And what I said was, so I'm saying this as a declaration to all of the Mindalia people, and to you, Matt, and to Myrna, and to Angel today. So what I said was, here comes the sun. I'm creating my personal new spring resolution, shifting into deeper connection with the Mother Earth that sustains my every living moment. I'm feeling the call to receiving the nurturing of nature. My soul seems to be crying out for balance with city living and playing, frolicking, and just being in the quiet, sacred, and natural places in and around LA. It's time for me to peacefully listen, enjoy, be in awe, and walk this talk. So that's something that I need to actually do. I have to kind of get myself to do it, because I do tend to be a little bit more inside and everything. So that's my declaration to you guys today for the spring going into summer. So it's about the trees, you know, it's about the earthing. It's so important for all of us. It's so much more healthy. Like you were saying, Matt, people pay money, and people pay money for all different kinds of things to uplift. And we can just be near a tree and get so much benefit. The trees talk to us, they actually do. So that's how I feel being around my trees today, Angel. That's my long answer.
Absolutely. You know, I would like to ask, because maybe people don't know exactly what earthing means. We're used to this, but would you mind, Matt, explaining, you know, what is earthing? Why is it important? What's the right way to do that, and what's the wrong way to do it? All the surfaces, like the good surfaces to earth. How do we do it?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any bad ways, but definitely walking on moist soil is the most effective way. So anywhere that there would be green plants growing, whether it's grass or some other kind of ground cover or another kind of plant, because the plants are green, that means that they're getting a sufficient amount of moisture. Some people can't identify moist soil from dry soil. Well, probably most people can if they thought about it. But yeah, so you want to find some wet soil or moist soil, and just stand on it for anywhere from a few seconds to minutes to hours. The more you do, the better, or the more profound the effect. But scientists have found that even just a short period of standing barefoot on wet soil allows your body to absorb these protons from the soil, which bind up the free electrons in our body. And another gentleman said, it's like taking antioxidants through your feet. So we're always looking for different health foods that have high levels of antioxidants in them, and we can just absorb those straight from the earth.
What's so amazing about that is that when I was doing research about my article for the trees, what I found astounding is that when we think of a tree, we think that we water the tree receives its nutrients from the roots, which are deep in the soil. And then how do those nutrients get all the way up like 20 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet, 80 feet? How does that even happen? It's magical. They don't actually, scientists have not completely figured that out. They figured out how it goes up perhaps 6 inches or maybe at the most 6 feet, but how it continues going all the way up is literally a mystery. And so that's the same with us with earthing, that when we're standing, it might seem a little hard to imagine, oh, I'm just standing with my feet on grass, which, again, the soil doesn't have to be wet or moist, like Matt was saying. It can also be grass, which might have dew in it, and that would be a conduit also. But just by standing, it's something miraculous, just like trees. That energy goes all the way up to our top of our tree. And so, so I just wanted to add that.
Yes, absolutely. And also, and speaking of, reading articles, you, Matt, that you are obviously all the time, planting and working with seeds and with kids, and you have to explain them how things work. I've heard many times that actually plants communicate to each other. Plants that are close, they communicate to each other. Is that real? Have you seen that happening? Have you perceived it? Have you felt it? Have you explained that to your kids?
Yeah, we do a lot of things around companion planting in the garden. So companion planting is planting plants next to each other that are supportive and compatible. And so some plants actually like each other. Some plants do not get along so well and can actually inhibit the growth of each other. So yeah, we practice the companion planting where, for example, tomatoes and basil really reinforce each other's growth and help each other's flavors. And planting carrots next to tomatoes does the same kind of thing. And that's just I think that I'm not sure if that's more anecdotal or if there's been a lot of research done. There's certainly like manuals and books on this topic, but I know from like a really scientific basis, there's been a lot of research done on plant communication through the fungal network underneath the soil. So there's all these webs of fungus that live underneath the soil that are beneath our feet all the time, and sometimes you see the manifestation of this in the form of like a mushroom. The mushroom is the fruit of the fungus. But yeah, even if you don't see the mushroom, there's always oftentimes, particularly in healthier soils, there's all these fungal networks that exist underneath. And that's actually the main way that plants are able to get nutrients, and also the way that they're able to communicate. So the fungal networks are actually hollow tubes, and there's people like Elon Musk who are designing different, or hypothesizing about different sorts of transportation systems where you can get in a tube and it like air pressure sends you to a different destination. And essentially that's kind of what happens with the trees communicating. It's kind of like instead of female, we call it tree male in the garden, and the plants can send messages about threats in their environment. They can send nutrients, they can send water. Because these tubes are hollow, they're able to pass all these messages as well as tangible physical things through them.
Yes, and that's so awesome, Matt. Thank you. And also, with it being hollow, I mean, we as scientists, or not me specifically, but consider it hollow, but there is energy there. And the other thing that they've found out is that with that, you're talking about the fungal, and they're like little hairs, you know, that are all in the system. And they were researching to find out what is that, how do they communicate, and what they're realizing is that they're actually hearing each other, hearing the energy, hearing the information. And those little hairs are like the little, I mean, how do we hear? We hear by the little hairs in our ears and in our, you know, hearing system, and they're extremely similar. So if we don't have those hairs, we can't hear. So it's pretty amazing. And just like the cones and rods in the leaves of trees are the same, or the energy, the aspects in the leaves are very similar, almost exactly like the cones and rods in our eyes. So trees don't necessarily have eyes; they kind of are eyes. They're just made up of seeing cones and rods.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. I feel like we've often thought of nature as not being sentient, but I think the scientists are more and more proving that nature is very intelligent and yeah, has all these mechanisms for communicating and relaying information and nutrients and supports that we were never savvy to before.
Let's try to help a little bit our audience here at Mindalia TV. Not everybody, I mean, not everybody has read all those books or knows these kind of things. So how could we help? You know, everybody lives somewhere. They have an apartment or they have a house. How could we start? How could anybody start like being in that nature or being one in nature from where they are today, even if they don't have plants? Is there a specific plant that you would, you know, recommend people to start, you know, buying or being acquainted with? What would you recommend, Matt?
Yeah, one of my favorite plants for small scale environments or like indoor environments would be the aloe vera. Aloe vera is an incredibly medicinal, beneficial plant, and on top of that, it's a really good air filtering plant. So it cleans pollution or toxins out of the air and gives you fresh oxygen. And then, yeah, I'm sure you all are aware of some of the other benefits for sunburns or for any kind of skin ailments. It's good for digestive problems, so you can use the inside and actually consume that for digestive problems. It's a good natural rooting hormone. So it's a good plant to start with, because if you ever want to propagate more plants, you can use the gelatinous material inside the aloe to put on another plant to encourage root development. So yeah, I really like the aloe vera. There's some other good indoor plant. Another benefit of the aloe vera is it needs almost no sunlight to grow. So only an hour, a couple hours of sunlight is more than enough for the aloe vera to survive and to thrive. And it's a succulent, so it doesn't need a whole lot of water. So yeah, there's just so many benefits to having the aloe, and it's exceptionally easy to grow. And not only that, but it also multiplies. So if you get an aloe plant growing, you could start to break off the little cups, the little sided shoots that come off of it, and help your friends or your neighbors or your family to grow as well.
Well, and Matt, thank you for that. I also know that you've really helped people who may have a little area outside. I mean, surprisingly small areas. In other words, most of us do, and maybe if people live in apartments or things like that, the people who own the apartment might not mind if you planted in certain areas that are the common area, or even certain plants that you might have in those pots and stuff that you might have on your balcony. But I know you've really done things in very small areas, like those little areas around basketball courts and things like that. So that, again, that's more, you know, city stuff. But like Angel was asking for actual where we live, what we can do. So what would you recommend for outside? Like if somebody has just a couple feet or something, little area.
Yeah, a pot is a great way to get started in growing your own garden, or building a little small wooden planter box is another really easy way to get going. I always encourage people to start off with the best possible soil they can find. So, organic or biodynamic, or really whatever you can get your hands on. But I always try to encourage people to opt for the better the better options, just because, particularly if you're going to be growing something you're going to be eating out of the box, you really want it to be as healthy as possible. And on top of that, if you get some more natural, like an organic potting soil, you're also getting those good microbes that we were talking about earlier. So yeah, that's probably the best place to start. And then I encourage people to grow herbs, or something that they would like to eat around their home. So leafy greens are easy to grow, and very utilitarian. There's lots of good herbs. Mint is super easy. Oregano grows great in the shade. Thyme, and then there's other good fruits that are easy, like tomatoes and cucumbers. So if you have a more vertical space, you can grow like a cucumber, which is a vining plant, so it'll wrap its way up a balcony, or yeah, just encourage people to kind of work with whatever their space provides, and to use that to their advantage.
Matt, where would you like your initiative, your business, where would you like it to go? Where do you see it in 5 to 10 years?
Well, I would just love to see more people around the world connecting to their food. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm really enjoying the educational side of things. So I love teaching the classes, and inspiring and empowering other people to grow their own food. So yeah, I don't know if anybody ever wanted to reach out from the network here. They're welcome to drop me a line. I'd love to be supportive, and helping people get something going around their homes, or around wherever they live. And yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I think the sky is the limit. I think there's just so much opportunity for people to reconnect.
Well, I think at this point, luckily, it's not a bit more mainstream, and people are understanding. It's sort of the pendulum swinging, I think, too, because for so long things people did have, I mean, out of necessity, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, people out of necessity had their own gardens, and now it's becoming cool. So, and in some cases it is necessity. And one of the things that you do that I appreciate is you've turned me on to other organizations like Food Forward and things like that, where people do grow. Maybe they have too much food, like let's say they have a tree and it's apple time or peach time, and there are just too many peaches. And so there are ways that we can work. There are organizations that will come and pick the fruit or that sort of thing and share it. Or I know you do things like that with the farmers market, so where we can really share the wealth of the food, the fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, so we're definitely want to increasingly localize our food system. So be able to provide more fresh local produce within the community. And I would love, back to your question, Angel, I would really love to see some school lunch programs being supported by food that's grown on the campus. Having student-led farms with students learning culinary skills and preparing the food, and getting it into the cafeteria, because unfortunately the food that's served often in the cafeterias is pretty unhealthy and devoid of a lot of nutrients. So like to see it go that way.
Yeah, there's another part of this ecosystem that I guess also the kids ask you a lot of questions about it, which is obviously we're also surrounded by insects, right? I mean, the insects are all around the plants, and there's some plants that attract some insects, and there's insects also have some role on the growth of that plant, and there's also some other maybe insects that they are repelled by the plant. So again, it's a complex system, isn't it? How do you see the insects and other animals that being part of the ecosystem that you help kids to create? Matt?
Yeah, they're integral to the ecosystems that we create, and yeah, whenever we're designing a landscape or planting a garden, we try to think about what type of animals or insects we might be attracting in the process of planting that garden, and then trying to find a balance between different predators and preys, and yeah, we really try to use we don't use any chemicals, any like industrial chemicals in our pest control or management systems. So yeah, there's a philosophy called integrated pest management where yeah, you're planting things like tobacco or calendulas, which bring in predatory insects, which help keep the problematic pests in check. And unfortunately, there's just like mass extinctions of insects happening worldwide. Yeah, there's like thousands and thousands of insects that are endangered of going extinct, and I think like the next 100 years. And whenever you plant a particular plant, it has the ability to bring in us and provide a home for a specific kind of insect. So one of the schools I teach at, their school mascot is the monarch butterfly, and the monarch butterfly is really threatened in California, and the numbers are declining precipitously. So every time somebody plants a milkweed plant, it's really astounding how all of a sudden, even though there might not have been a milkweed plant around there for years and years, all of a sudden the monarch butterflies all come in and are aware of that milkweed plant, and it gives them a habitat or like a home and a place to be able to reproduce. So
that's so beautiful. That's a great question, Angel. You asked the best questions.
Thank you. You inspired me to do that, Sunny.
There are some products. I actually am holding one right now. This is from Vibe Up. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it smells so incredible too. And you can just, or Vibes Up actually with an S, and they sell this product. And this is just a little one that you can put, like if you have a shoulder issue or any place on your body that hurts, you just put this, and it's made of complete soil and microbes and all that, and it's just pressed into this thing. But they also have blankets that you can put on they have a tube and they go outside and they connect with the earth. And so when you're sleeping, it's as if you're outside sleeping. And they have some other products. They have some things like soles for your shoes, so that when you're walking, you're earthing all the time. And these things can be really, really excellent for people who are having serious issues like arthritis, diabetes, serious inflammation problems before people get cancer, perhaps, all these kinds of things. So I recommend this product. I mean, it's not a commercial. I don't get any kickback from them, but I do love their product. And I think there are ways that sometimes maybe people who are hearing this show might, live in New York City or somewhere like that where you can't get to the trees as easily, maybe only on the weekends. So because it's something to balance it out. And I think that when the body starts having a little bit of these things, then it just kicks us into another gear where we really kind of crave, like I was saying in my declaration, crave to be in nature, and we'll make it more a priority. So I think this might be a little bit of a bridge maybe for some of us out there that need a kickstart.
That's amazing. I didn't know that existed, Sunny. It's incredible.
Yeah, and these blankets that you put on, they're not that expensive. They're about $100, and they're like this whole weighted thing. I don't know if you've been exposed to Vibes Up, Matt, or anything about these, but they're fantastic. And they have as I say, a tube that you can take that goes outside and connects with the dirt in your backyard, and they've really had remarkable benefits for friends of mine who have had serious, serious pain that they don't really, that the doctors can't figure out where it's coming from. So yeah, as I say, as a kickstart. So
yeah,
I know.
I was just going to say, yeah, I know there's like blankets as well that you can. They have some kind of metallic, I think it's maybe copper material in them, and you plug it into the socket because all buildings. I don't know if this is worldwide, but at least in the United States, have a ground rod. So whenever they run electricity into a building, there's a rod that they stick into the ground. So in the event of a lightning strike or something, the electrical pulse will go into the soil through that ground rod as opposed to blowing something up or going into the house. And so when you plug in, if you were to get one of these blankets, you could plug it in, and that would immediately ground you into the soil as well. So that's another like possible option for people in the city or in more urbanized environments. And as you were saying, the health benefits are almost immediate. And the main thing is inflammation. So when we're grounding, the inflammatory responses in our body are diminished almost instantaneously. And I think that's where people are finding so much relief for these chronic diseases. With apparently, I'm definitely not a doctor, but what I understand is inflammation is kind of it's a big source of disease for a lot of people.
Well, and I was thinking while you were chatting, the other reason that these kinds of products may be excellent are for people who maybe are in a, let's say, can't necessarily walk, like elder people who are in hospitals or in assisted living places and they can't actually get out. This would be another product that would be a great kickstart for them, and maybe in 6 months or 3 months or some period of time, they can get out. In other words, I think it might be something that could really help them. So, or again, people who are even friends of ours who are in a hospital, even for some whatever reason, this would be a great thing to bring them to help with their healing in a really natural way. So they don't have to take as many of those nasty drugs.
and Matt, you were talking about something. I was blessed with living in Mexico, the country, for a few years. And I would go to the state of Michoacan, which is supposed to be a sanctuary of the monarch butterflies. And I was just reading, in their way to the north, they would stop in Mexico. So I was just reading an article the other day about how concerned they were because the amount of monarchs is not as huge as it used to be, as large as it used to be. And I would like to ask you actually about another insect, which is supposed to have one of the most important, relevant, significant roles in nature, which are bees. And also bees are kind of, threatened by a lot of different things that we do, unfortunately, in this world. So what could you say about bees? I think because, bees, should we all have beehives at home? What could we do to prevent these amazing, these incredible and unfortunate things that are happening with the bees today?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome if everybody could have bees at home. Unfortunately, it's probably not such a realistic thing to have, but I think short of having your own beehive, you could plant flowers that would provide a habitat for the bees. I think just advocating for better policies around bees. So a lot of cities, they just exterminate bees. A lot of cities, like municipalities, actually have policies where if a beehive is found, it's in an unsuitable location, then they just come and they exterminate it. And I think pushing for more progressive policies around bees would be really beneficial. So relocating the bees, or finding somebody that might like to take the bees instead of just killing them.
Another thing we can do is in our local grocery stores, I mean, Sprouts or Whole Foods or those kinds of places, there are a myriad of honey choices. And some of them are far more sustainable than others. And of course, those are quite a bit more money, but you can really look on the jars and see which honeys are from sustainable bees and small little places where they're doing beautiful work with honey, and use your dollar there too. It's an important thing to do. And I learned, by the way, that honey never goes bad. So if you buy it and you don't use it quickly, if it crystallizes or whatever, that doesn't mean that it's bad and that you should throw it out. Keep it and use it. And it's also great for your skin. So you can use it for a myriad of things. It also can help with all kinds of scars and things like that. So it's another way to, kind of vote with our dollar.
Absolutely. There's so many benefits, about what you do. It's amazing. It's an amazing mission that you have, an amazing work that you do. So what's the best way to find you? People that, all over the country, when they're going to, watch this interview and they're going to say, okay, so I want to connect with Matt as soon as possible. How could they do it, Matt?
Probably through my website. It's homegrowngardensla.com. LA is in Los Angeles, and that's where we're based. So, I mean, people are welcome to reach out, but I also think that there's so many resources around the world. There's so many people that are engaged or interested in this kind of work, and I think that there's all sorts of forums and groups that can really facilitate people's the deepening of people's knowledge around just any growing practices or spiritual practices or things like this that will help people to connect.
Beautiful. Sunny, as usual, I would like to ask you, what's the easiest way for all our audience to be able to find you?
Well, I would love to answer that question. And before I do, I'll just add to Matt, which I'll say as far as that goes. The beauty of this conversation that we're having right now, I hope really inspires people to be creative. And so in your communities, there are places where people are sharing food. And it's just so important to be doing that right now. And so in LA, there are places, there are organizations who will go to farmers markets at the end of the weekend and get that fruit and then take it to homeless shelters and that sort of thing, because the farmer can't then use that fruit. Like it's been there for 2 days. They can't deal with it, so often they throw it out. So there are people who will go and do that. And you people out there in Mindalia TV land may be that person. So the next time you go to a farmer's market, you can ask, well, gosh, what are you doing at the end of this? And you may be that person who says, well, gosh, let me stop by at 5 o'clock on Sunday and I'll take, stuff and I'll take it to my nearest homeless center, or I'll take it to the school, my kids, elementary school. So I think what Matt's really brought to us today, Matt Van Diepen, I should say his whole name, of Homegrown Gardens LA, has brought the idea of how we can use our creativity and our humanity to really spread this concept far and wide. So with that, I'll say also you can find me on ABC Solutionary Sundays. What a great segue, right? On Sunday on ABC Talk, and of course Whole Life Times Magazine, and excuse me, on iHeartRadio and iTunes with all of these shows and the shows that I've done on UBN for many years. And follow me on Twitter and all that stuff, mainly Instagram, and it's just Sunny Chayes, Chayes. Like, yes. And
Awesome.
of course, next time here, same bat channel, same back time with you, Angel.
Absolutely. Hey, Matt, again, thank you. Thank you very much for everything that you do. We are very sensitive about the future of humanity, and we're very sensitive about kids here at Mindalia TV. So, thank you very much for everything that you do. Obviously, as you said, we have so many resources around us. All our municipalities, all our neighborhoods have people and have organizations and nonprofits that protect the environment and then trying to connect us to who we really are, and we are all one. And we have wanted to make a little bit of a difference with this show today. We are all surrounded by nature, and we definitely would like everybody to try to be more connected to what they really are. So thank you very much, Matt, for doing what you do and for being with Mindalia TV today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Angel and Sunny, and we really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys on these topics, and yeah, hopefully we can continue to collaborate and inspire change going forward.
Absolutely, and obviously, a pleasure to be with you again, Sunny.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
What a joy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, this is Angel Rebo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's been a pleasure to have Matt, to have Sunny again, and to have you here. Thank you for always being with us. We hope that you have enjoyed our conversation as much as we have. We hope to see you soon, next Thursday on our show. So have a wonderful day. All the good in nature for you today. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.